Have you ever thought about how life seems to mock our greatest efforts? It's as if the harder we try to grasp something, the more it slips through our fingers. And yet, when we stop trying, when we let go, it quietly appears, almost as if it was waiting for us to stop fighting with ourselves. Why is it that striving often leads us further from our goal while surrendering seems to bring it closer? This paradox is both maddening and enlightening, and it speaks to something fundamental about human existence. When we confront this truth deeply, we begin to see that so much of our struggle is not with the world, but with our very approach to the world. Think about relationships, for instance. How many times have you seen someone try too hard to win the affection of another? The constant texting, the desperate need to impress, the inability to leave space. And what happens? The other person pulls away. Why? Because desperation is suffocating. It signals lack of confidence, lack of self-sufficiency, lack of trust. And people are naturally repelled by lack. But then, when the chasing stops, when the person stops trying and focuses instead on their own life, on their own growth, the dynamic changes. The space created by that shift allows attraction to breathe. The other person might even come back, drawn by the newfound calm and self-assurance. Isn't it strange? We are told from childhood that hard work is the key to success. Push harder, try more, never give up. And yet, there are areas of life love, happiness, creativity, even sleep where effort seems to have the opposite effect. The harder we push, the further we drift from the thing we desire. But why? What is it about certain aspects of life that makes effort counterproductive? The paradox lies in the nature of control. When we try too hard, we are attempting to impose our will on something that often exists beyond the reach of our conscious control. Think about it. Can you force someone to love you? Can you force creativity to flow? Can you force yourself to fall asleep? No. These things happen naturally, organically, when the conditions are right. But forcing creates tension, and tension is the enemy of flow. It's like trying to hold water in your hand. The tighter you grip, the more it escapes.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
Let me ask you something. How much of your life is spent trying to control things that are fundamentally uncontrollable? How often do you exhaust yourself chasing outcomes that would likely come to you if only you stopped chasing? There's a wisdom in nature that we often overlook. A tree doesn't force itself to grow, it simply grows. A river doesn't force itself to flow, it simply flows. And yet, both achieve great things. Trees stretch toward the heavens, rivers carve paths through mountains. They achieve without striving. Humans, on the other hand, are cursed with overthinking. We analyze, we strategize, we obsess, and in doing so, we often block the very outcomes we desire. Consider the phenomenon of stage fright. A performer stands on stage, desperate to give their best performance. They try to control every word, every gesture, every note. And what happens? They fumble. Their very effort to avoid failure ensures it. But think of the same performer in a state of flow, relaxed, unself-conscious, just letting the performance unfold. The result is magic. Why? Because they've gotten out of their own way. They've surrendered the need to control and allowed their natural abilities to shine. This is the essence of the paradox of attraction. Trying too hard creates resistance. It's like swimming against a current. You expend enormous energy but make little progress. Letting go, on the other hand, is like swimming with the current. The effort is minimal, but the progress is significant. The key is not to stop swimming, but to align yourself with the natural flow. But let's be clear, letting go doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean passivity. It means knowing when to act and when to step back. It means finding that delicate balance between effort and surrender. And here's the hard part: it requires trust. Trust in yourself, trust in the process, trust that things will unfold as they should. And trust is scary because it means relinquishing control. Imagine you're holding a bow and arrow, aiming at a target. If you grip the bow too tightly, if you overthink every movement, your shot will suffer. But if you relax, if you trust your training, your instincts, your body, the arrow flies true. The effort is there, but it's effortless. This is the paradox in action. The best results often come when we stop trying so hard. But why is this so difficult for us? Why do we cling to control, even when it's counterproductive? Part of it is fear. We fear failure. We fear uncertainty. We fear that if we don't try hard enough, we'll lose everything. But this fear blinds us to a deeper truth, that some outcomes cannot be forced. They can only be allowed. And allowing requires courage, the courage to let go, to trust, to accept that we are not in control of everything. Take a moment to reflect on your own life. Where are you trying too hard? Where are you gripping too tightly? Is it in your relationships, your career, your personal growth? And what would happen if you loosened your grip, if you stopped trying to force the outcome and instead allowed things to unfold naturally? Would you be willing to take that risk, or is the need for control too deeply ingrained? One of the most profound lessons of the paradox of attraction is that we don't always know what's best for us. Our conscious mind, for all its brilliance, is limited. It sees only a fraction of the bigger picture. And so when we try to control outcomes, we are often acting from a place of ignorance. Letting go, then, is not just an act of trust, but an act of humility. It's an acknowledgement that there are forces at work beyond our understanding, and that sometimes the best thing we can do is step aside and let those forces do their work. But how do we let go in a world that constantly demands effort and achievement? How do we find the balance between striving and surrender? This is the great challenge of life, and there are no easy answers. But one thing is clear: it begins with awareness. Awareness of our tendencies, our fears, our patterns. Awareness of when our effort is helping and when it's hindering. And awareness of the moments when we need to step back and let life take its course. Let me leave you with a question. If you were to stop trying so hard, if you were to let go of your need to control, what might you discover about yourself? What might you achieve, not through force but through flow? And are you willing to find out? If the first part of this discussion challenged you to question the areas in your life where effort might be working against you, let's now go deeper. What does it really mean to let go? How can you distinguish between the moments when effort is necessary and when it's an obstacle? These questions are not just philosophical, they are deeply practical. They shape how we live, how we love, how we succeed, and how we fail. Let's consider the idea of mastery for a moment. Think of any skill, any craft, any art form. What does mastery look like? A master painter does not agonize over every brushstroke. A master musician does not overthink every note. A master athlete does not consciously calculate every movement. Mastery, in its purest form, is effortless. But this effortlessness is not the absence of effort, it is the culmination of effort. It is the point where practice and preparation dissolve into instinct. When we're beginners at something, everything feels awkward and unnatural. We're hyper-aware of what we're doing, and we make mistakes because we're trying too hard to get it right. This is natural. Effort is necessary in the beginning. But here's the catch: if we cling to that effort, if we remain in that state of overthinking, we never progress. We never reach the point where the skill becomes second nature. The paradox of mastery is that effort must give way to ease. To become great at something, you must practice and prepare, but then, at a certain point, you must trust yourself enough to let go. This is why so many teachers, in so many disciplines, emphasize relaxation. The piano teacher says, relax your hands, the martial arts instructor says, stay loose, the public speaking coach says, don't force it. Why? Because tension is the enemy of flow. When you're tense, your movements are jerky, your reactions are slow, your mind is clouded. Relaxation, on the other hand, allows everything to align. It allows your body and mind to work together seamlessly. It allows you to perform at your best without even trying. But letting go is not just about physical relaxation. It's also about mental and emotional relaxation. Think about the last time you were truly in the zone, whether it was during a creative project, a sport, or even a deep conversation. What did that feel like? Chances are you weren't overthinking. You weren't analyzing every move or worrying about the outcome. You were simply present, fully absorbed in the moment, allowing the experience to unfold naturally. This is the state of effortless action, often referred to as Wu Wei in Taoist philosophy. Wu Wei is sometimes misunderstood as passivity, as doing nothing. But that's not the case. Wu Wei is not the absence of action, it's the absence of forced action. It's action that arises spontaneously, effortlessly, from a place of alignment. It's like a river flowing around obstacles rather than trying to bulldoze through them. The river doesn't stop, it doesn't give up. But neither does it fight. It moves with the natural flow of things, finding the path of least resistance. Now let's bring this back to the paradox of attraction. Why does trying too hard often lead to failure? Because trying too hard creates resistance. It disrupts the natural flow of things. When you're overly focused on an outcome, you create tension within yourself and within the situation. That tension is felt by others. It's why desperation in relationships is so off-putting. It's why overconfidence in a sales pitch feels fake. It's why perfectionism in creative work stifles originality. In trying to control the outcome, you lose the very qualities that make success possible: authenticity, spontaneity, and ease. But here's the tricky part. Letting go doesn't mean being lazy or indifferent. It doesn't mean sitting back and waiting for life to hand you everything. Letting go is an active process. It requires awareness, discipline, and above all, trust. Trust in yourself, trust in your preparation, trust in the process. Let's take a concrete example: public speaking. For many people, the mere thought of speaking in front of an audience is terrifying. What happens? They over-prepare. They memorize every word of their speech. They rehearse endlessly. And then, when they step onto the stage, they freeze. Their mind goes blank. Why? Because they're trying too hard. They're clinging to control. And that clinging creates tension. The best public speakers, on the other hand, don't memorize every word. They prepare, yes, but they also trust themselves to adapt in the moment. They trust that the right words will come. And because they trust, they relax. And because they relax, they connect with the audience in a way that no amount of effort could achieve. This principle applies to almost every area of life. In relationships, trying to control every aspect of the dynamic only leads to frustration and resentment. In creativity, obsessing over perfection only stifles the creative process. In sports, overthinking every move only slows you down. The harder you try, the worse it gets. But when you let go, when you stop trying to control everything, you create space for things to happen naturally.